Albert Einstein once observed that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another.
Hi, and welcome to the Satori Show with your host, Amy Satori, your intuitive spiritual counselor. Amy's work centers around the energy that is in everything and everywhere. Her rare ability is to identify the energy from any source, and with the help of her guides on the other side, provides an incredibly accurate assessment of what's really going on. Albeit with people living her past, pets, the human body, and her specialty, twin flame relationships. And now we're proud to announce that the show is live at the Lighthouse Bookstore every Sunday night from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can talk to Amy and see for yourself just how special her abilities really are. Just call 256-291-1191. So now sit back and join me, Kevin McDonald, as we present this episode of The Satori Show. And welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to The Satori Show. And with your host, Amy Satori, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I hope that you stay for the entire show because we've got lots and lots and lots of wonderful information to give you. First of which is, I'd like to introduce Travis, who is our producer call screener. And when you call in to the show, you can do that at 5:30, from 5:30 to 6:30 to 7:30 Pacific time, and 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central, and so forth. And you can call in at 256-291-1191, and I just brought to Amy's attention that in our call-in number are 4 1s. So that is further confirmation of what we're doing is good. And also, if you want to go to thesatorishow.podbean.com, you can go and you can look at all of the shows that we've done. We just finished a show that is just extraordinary and is a must-listen-to show. So that will be up later on Sunday night, as will this one. So review those and then go back to the other ones. And please follow us so that you have information about when we put new shows up. We're going to do a show tomorrow, and we'll be putting that one up as well. So you get current information, so you have something new to think about, something new to look at. So given that, and oh, by the way, if you want to go talk to Amy herself, you can do that by going to www.amysatori.com and book a session with her. You can go to the resources page. There's all sorts of great information there. So all the nuts and bolts are kind of taken care of. And with that, Amy, how are you doing tonight? That was an incredible episode that we just finished.
That was pretty cool. I loved it. We had this really beautiful couple come on and give us an update. It was very uplifting. Gave us chills all over. And
eye-opening to a lot of folks that are skeptical, and we didn't get to all of your comments. We will in future episodes, I promise. One of the comments was that, and there are some people out there that are just not feeling very good about the situation that they're in and don't know what they're doing and don't know if that person is, and all of that. And that last show really was a nice validation. There's a lot of information there, so I implore you to go look at that and to listen to it. And you're going to have to probably listen to it over and over again because there's so much there. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yes. So what I would like to talk to you about, one of the things that you talked about, and I'd like to delve on it a little bit more, and then we're going to talk later in the episode about the concept and the reality of cheating. What's that all about? What drives it, and who does it, and all that kind of stuff, and what exactly is cheating. But before we get there, I want to talk to Amy about what you said quite a number of times in the last episode, and that was talking about the stories that we tell ourselves, the things that we say to ourselves to create our reality, which may not, and generally is not, really true. Would you say that that's true?
Wait, that was confusing. What was?
I'm glad I confused myself. So done. No, the question,
did I think that the thought was right about what you thought about what I thought, or was it that I was thinking something that you were thinking that I should have thought first? Yeah. What?
Pardon me. I need to write that down. I need to listen to this show to figure out what I was trying to ask. So, but what I'm trying to say is that we all, and especially in our relationships that we have with the opposite sex and our intimate relationships, we tend to tell ourselves stories about what's going on. And a lot of times those stories are not true and are or based on incomplete information or based on our fears and what we think might be going on. Is that kind of how that works?
That's exactly how that works. In fact, you never really ever know somebody else. You think you do, but there are there are so many.
I lived with one for 24 years and thought I proved myself wrong on that one.
Well, you never know. You're never going to be able to get in. I mean, so funny. I was walking by Peter Irish the other day. Was doing his thing out on Pearl Street, and as I'm walking by, he's like, "Hey," and then he said, "Hey, just so you guys know, this lady can read your mind." I just turned around and waved and smiled. But it's like, even if you like, I don't go like prying into people's minds, but like if you were to, you would, there are so many thoughts that fly through your brain in so many different ways and from so many different angles. And it's all happening to us. It's not who we are. We over-identify with it and we think these thoughts are who we are, but they're not. We're just kind of, it's almost as if a neutral, okay, so you can attract a positive thought or you can attract a negative thought. If the negative thought starts to come into your field, you can sense whether it's negative or not. And if you're already kind of in a worried state, you're going to kind of glom onto or latch onto that negative thought, and you're going to want to take a magnifying glass out and just really examine it and look at it. And it'll make you feel really, 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 really bad. And then the more you examine it and look at it from all the different angles to examine it further, you'll provide more proof and evidence that it's really, really bad. In fact, it's even worse than I think. In fact, it's even worse than what I could possibly have ever imagined thinking. And all of it is all just being created in your head and may or may not even be happening whatsoever for the other person on the other end of it. So it never hurts to think positive thoughts. It never hurts to trust, because in doing so, you're essentially just leaving it up to life. And I can hear some of you like going, yeah, but life has treated me terrible. It's really not like that. Life has always been supportive of you. You've just summarized it as having been terrible. Again, thoughts. Everything always comes back to thoughts. So it's like everything is neutral, but you can believe something negative into it or something positive into it, depending on what you're wanting, what you're kind of addicted to. Some people are even addicted to negative thinking or being a victim. So you just have to break that pattern of constantly automatically believing whatever the negative thought is and running with it, and learn to reprogram your brain to believe the positive thoughts and to kind of neutralize the negative thoughts, and so that we're not self-sabotaging or self-defeating by the things that we're believing and choosing to believe that in most cases are just not even true. Even if it was true, it's not true to the degree that you think it is. So it's still not true. And really the only thing that ever is true, and I know I'm getting kind of deep here, but anything that is of the past, if you think about it, and now really think about it, anything of the past is in the past. And if I were to ask you to look into something in your past, even 5 minutes ago, you would literally have to go into your mind and you would have to search your memory bank. And so what are you actually looking at? You're looking at a memory that is not actually happening in this moment. It's not real. But right now, if you were to reach your hands out and touch something that's in front of you, or touch your chair, touch your leg, or do something that's right here and now, that's what's real. That's the only thing that's real is you hearing my voice right now. That's it. And whatever is around you. That's what's the only thing that's real. And in this moment, that is real, nothing else is except in a thought. Even if you're like, well, what do you think is going to happen in your future or even tomorrow? You don't know if that thing is actually going to even happen. You could have plans tomorrow morning that totally get switched around on you. So you don't really ever know the future. And even if like somebody like me tells you X, Y, and Z is going to happen in 2 days, any decision that you make can change everything. And you have ultimate power over what you manifest in your life. So you could change anything by just having an epiphany or an awareness. And even that, if you're looking in the future and you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen, you are still in that memory type of state. You're not actually living in the future. So the more you can live from the now, the more you can make peace with and make friends with the fact that you don't need anything from your past and you don't need anything from your future, but you have it all right now, right here, in this moment, with me, then everything's okay. And this wellspring of peace starts to pour through you and come through you and give you divine guidance through a peaceful state that gives you clarity, ultimate clarity, much more so than if you were to try to, worry yourself thinking about things in the past and in the future. Does all that make sense?
Of course it does, but it's so much easier and so much more satisfying to play the victim. Because then you can blame somebody else for all of your issues and all of your problems. It makes it much more convenient to have a source that you can blame for stuff other than yourself. Don't you think?
Oh, totally. I remember being like that. And yeah, there's a lot of fun to it. There's an element of drama and can I escape this puzzle? Can I make it out the maze? So it's like a labyrinth. Who can you trust? Who can't you trust? Who's going to be up around the bend? It's all very mysterious. And in our society, we're kind of programmed to be in that mode. We watch all these TV shows and programs. I need to move my phone. It's like there's a group text going on, and there's a lot of action happening, and I put it down in my lap, and I'm regretting that. Let me just pause.
You're vibrating on your lap. You're vibrating on your lap. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Something was vibrating down there pretty intensely, and a lot of things were happening. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
we can hear it too.
Sorry about that. Gee. Group text, man, aren't they a pain? I'm such a victim of group text. No, but it's like I remember one time I told my mentor. She said that she goes out with these friends, and because she was always telling me, don't gossip, don't lie, don't blah, blah, blah. She was very moral. And I was like, well, then what do you do when you go out to lunch with your friends? I mean, I know you have friends you go out with. Like, what do you guys do? Like, I couldn't fathom getting together with friends and not gossiping or not talking about trouble or drama or problems or complaining. I looked at her like she was an alien. Like, what are you talking about? How can you have friendships if it's not about all that stuff? And she was like, well, we uplift each other. We encourage each other. We talk about the magic happening in our lives. And I was like, okay, sounds kind of boring. So, yeah, we get sucked into that stuff. Huh?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not nearly as much fun to talk about those things and to also take personal responsibility for yourself than it is to blame everybody else in the drama. And did you hear what she did to him and what he did back and all that kind of stuff? Because that happens all the time.
Yeah, but okay. So being on the other side of this now, it is so freeing and so liberating and so incredible to have friends that find everything humorous. That really see the lighter side of life and see that it's not this big scary thing that everybody makes it out to be. It's almost like, and I have actually heard beings on the other side laughing really hard at how seriously they took their lives when they were here. Like, if we only knew it was just a comedy, the whole thing was just a comedy, even the worst of it, looking back on it and on our lives and on those tragic moments, we were like cracking up because we knew the big picture. We knew what this was eventually molding them and shaping them into, So you get to when you detach from all that stuff and you get down to the heart of the matter and you see all these incredible, like yours and my conversations are just so fun and they're so uplifting and they're so like exciting. It's like, what exciting things happened for you today? And then we get to share that, and then we get to, oh, what exciting thing happened for you? And it's just very uplifting. When we get off the phone from having talked to each other, we feel like we could fly. It's all very exciting. So, there and it's also like nothing can really trap you. Nothing can really hold on to you because you kind of become a little slippery because if there's nothing that really alarms you or scares you so bad that you grasp onto it, if you're just keep going, whoa, nearly missed that, whoa, and you can kind of have a sense of humor about it, and if it can make you be more real, more honest with each other, and it makes you into a better communicator and whatnot, then it just keeps evolving and blossoming you, and it becomes like your friendships are more meaningful, they're more authentic. You can really just be yourself instead of nobody really feels sorry for you anyway. And when you're complaining about your roommate being this nasty person who comes and steals from you and lies and does things behind your back and does all this stuff, it's like all you're thinking is, why are you so weak that you can't stand up to that person and establish some boundaries or move out? It's not like they're looking up to you and saying, great things about you. Hey, guess what? My good friend has this horrible roommate she's still with because she really feels like, she's kind of stuck in that situation. It's like, that's no fun, is it? And a lot of times the one that you're gossiping about gossips about you, and it's just this vicious. It keeps you just stuck in what Eckhart talks about as the pain body. It just feeds and fuels your pain body. So it's all about like having the intention of where am I gonna focus my energy? What am I gonna focus my energy on? Building or destroying? Am I gonna focus on solutions, or the fact that I'm in that I seem to be in quicksand? Or are you gonna tell yourself the story that you're in quicksand, or are you gonna be like MacGyver and be like, any time a big stick is going to fall across here and I'm going to pull myself out of here, You got to think like MacGyver and think that there's always something that can be used or something that can happen to get you out of this.
Well, there always
duct tape
is.
And bubble gum can fix anything.
Yeah, duct tape.
Yep.
That's
don't forget the paperclip. Got to have a paperclip.
Yeah.
But isn't the reality that we put, first of all, you might as well relax and enjoy life because you're not getting out of it alive anyway. And secondly, don't we just put way too much stock in the negative stuff? And if we just relax and we discussed in the last hour and let it be, most of the time all this stuff is just going to quietly fade away, and it didn't matter anyway. It wasn't consequential to your life. Now there are some times when you have a major crisis, but once you come through it and you remember it, you can learn from it. And isn't that one of the main reasons why we're here?
Yeah. I mean, it's all just learning and growing. It's really just God looking through our eyes, experiencing all the different possible aspects of itself, It's just, how much do I love myself? Well, let me see here. And it's just incredible what happens when somebody shifts from either fear or anger or one of those feelings and kind of has one of those heartfelt shifts over the other way and can actually start laughing and like kind of catching their ego in it. It is such an incredible moment from the other side's perspective. I mean, they're cheering and celebrating. Oh my gosh, we cracked them open. And honestly, that's the best. When you're in that flow with life and you're not struggling to control it too much, it's amazing how things can just flow to you so naturally and so, I don't know, just things tend to just be synchronistic and work out magically without you having to do anything when you just trust life. It can be hard to do, but all you really have to do is be so in the moment that you're not just being, I think Sarina Sargadada Maharaj was the one who said, don't be so lazy as to think. If you just don't think, and if you just stay really present in the moment, or just stay as the observer of your life rather than being all involved in the drama of it, then you can detach and keep your mind just real clear. And when your mind is real clear like that, your guidance comes right through and just makes all this magic happen. And then you don't have to do a thing. That's the funny thing, is we're convinced that we have to do in order to make things happen. But I have personally seen, from having been enlightened, that the actual way that our nature is designed to be is in complete surrender and joy and just relaxed, and everything just happens for us. Believe you me, I had it happen. I could manifest anything I wanted to just by simply thinking about it for just a moment. I'd be like, lunch would sure be nice about now. And then somebody would come in the room and bring me a sandwich without me even asking or saying anything or getting up to look for how much money I have, like none of it. I was so in the flow, and I was so one with God that it was just delivered by the mere thought. I mean, we're creators. We're made in God's image. We are creators. So when we are one with that source energy and one with God, it just works out. So I tell people, no matter.
Yeah. No, we have it backwards. We believe that if we do things, that will make us happy. Fact of the matter is, if you be happy, things will flow to you because everything is already good. You're already happy, and happy things happen to you, and good things and positive thoughts. Everything just happens to you, and your life just ends up turning around. You don't feel the same way you used to. It really is incredible. You taught me that.
Yay. That's awesome. But yeah, it's just true. It's like whatever you're putting out there in terms of what you're thinking about. It's like so many people are on autopilot too, just automatically thinking negative thoughts all the time, just walking around, okay, what do I need to watch out for next? What do I need to watch out for next? And it starts to pull those types of things to worry about more to you. More things to worry about. Because it's almost like, in a way, it's God's grand plan to, like, He gives you this free will to attract whatever you want to. So if you want to worry, then worry a bunch. And then it's going to bring more stuff to worry about. And then more stuff to have to problem solve about, and more of that. So it's a very supportive thing if you really think about it. It's like, I put out that I love thinking about worrying a lot. So here it comes. Okay, all the problems I have to overcome for that to happen, here they come. And it's just like the universe is like, would you like more of that? Here you go. Whatever you're thinking about, I'm in total support of it. So then if you turn that around, though, and you just think about how grateful you are for all the wonderful moments, for every time that you just really, really love the moment you're in, why not just bask in that for a moment and just be so grateful for what you have? And just I've learned you can even you can say affirmations, but if you don't believe them, they don't work. But you sure can put yourself in a space of really believing those affirmations, even if you don't really see evidence of it in your life. And you can train yourself to actually feel that vibration, and then you start to see it happen in your life. It's pretty amazing. You just have to believe it. You have to believe it to see it.
Well, I have an observation to make about that, and that is this: you ever watch? I'm a people watcher. I love to watch people. I look at their faces, and I can always tell if somebody has a negative mind frame, because over time a frown becomes their natural state. They live in a frown state. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you have a frown on your face because your life situation is bad and nobody likes you and that, well, nobody likes you because you have a frown on your face. If you have a smile on your face, you're inviting people into your life. You're inviting good things to happen. It's really is as simple as that. Because if you have a frown on your face, I don't know that I want to talk to you. If you have a smile, I'm much more engaged with talking to you because you have a smile on your face and because you are a much happier person. And nobody wants, well, I take that back. Some people love to talk in a negative way and be negative and be the Eeyore among us. And working with you helps people understand how to be positive, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and then you got those with RBF.
RBF?
The resting bitch face. The resting bitch face. You ever see that? They're like all smiling, hey, how's it going? You know, and all of a sudden you look the next second and they're like, rrr.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like they have this look on their face like they could just eat somebody's face off. And then they smile again. And you're like, whoa, what was that?
That's a fake one. But if you know, because some people will then use that because to get what they want. But if you genuinely have a happy-go-lucky attitude towards life, good things happen to you, and the bad things aren't as bad. They don't seem as bad, and you can skate right through them.
But it's got to be like so many people would hear what you're saying and say, then I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna smile, and that's okay, you know, and that's you know you can do that, and you can definitely think, well, I'll try to think better about this, or I'll try to think more positively about this situation, but just make sure if you're doing that you're really getting to the heart of the matter as best you can, that it's not just you putting a smile on your face or trying to see it optimistically when in actuality there's another part of you not believing that and not falling for that BS. Because then you're kind of become split in two. And there's one side of you that's totally judging the other side, and they're pointing at each other saying, you're an idiot for believing this positive thing. That's really stupid. You know you're going to fall on your face. And you get this little war going on, and then the other one's going, you shouldn't be such a ninny, you shouldn't be such an Eeyore all the time. How come you always have to be so down about everything that ever happens? So then you have that going on within you, you know, and it becomes like this thing where you end up falling on your face after a period of trying to be positive, and you just reaffirm for yourself, look, you know, here I am on my face again. I'm here again. I knew I would prove this to myself. I knew I couldn't be positive. I knew I couldn't. You know what I mean? So there really are tools and techniques to use that are very, very, I highly recommend using some actual tools that will help you dismantle your whole belief system, your whole subconscious brain and the way that it looks at stressful thoughts. And try to reframe it and try to look at things from a totally different way that more gives you, it's more about getting to a place where you have aha epiphanies and Satoris. So so you can play around with a certain thought until you go, oh my gosh, that wasn't even real in the first place. And look what I was making of it. Those are the moments you're looking for, because those are the moments that are going to, because of your diligence in working out that issue, you freed yourself and you had this major like wow, and then from that wow, it puts that natural smile on your face. But you have to accept the shadow side. First and foremost, always be okay with no matter what it is you're feeling or going through. If it's a negative feeling, be okay with it, accept it, and validate it. And on the other side of it, just like dissecting, not just believing your thoughts, but really dissecting them and seeing, you know, reprogramming the way that you're thinking. It takes a little bit of time and some diligence, but it's so worth it when you end up just pretty much just laughing at everything and not much hooks you anymore.
And that's an important distinction, because we all get triggered by things that it used to be if somebody would have called me a name, a bad name, like the MF or any of the other ones, and I realize I could say it, but I don't choose to. But any of the really bad names. Now I find it rather funny, quite frankly, because it's like, number one, It doesn't matter what you think. I'm the one who controls what I think and what's happening in my life, and you can say whatever you choose to say. It doesn't affect me one little bit, unless, of course, I'm in a bad frame of mind, and then it does. But then I have to sit down and analyze myself. Okay, why is that bothering you? It shouldn't. You're the only one who can make yourself mad, so why did that trigger you? And that's a conversation that I have with myself all the time. It's like, okay, why are you feeling this way? And then I'll have a conversation with her. Because I feel like it, damn it, and or whatever it is. And the whole idea is using some of the thing. And by the way, if you go to amysatori.com on a resources page, you can find lots of exercises that you can take for yourself to learn how to live a little bit more of a positive lifestyle and a positive way. Right, Amy?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for that.
And by the way, one of the most negative, nasty, icky things that we have in our lives that involve personal relationships is the concept of cheating. So I'd love to hear some of the rationales, and I know that this is the work that you do, and so you're involved with a lot of people that have cheated and have been cheated on. Why do you think that it happens on such a regular basis with so many people?
Well, if you break it down to, energy, basically if you feel bad about something, like we are all, as long as we have an ego and we're not enlightened yet, in other words, one with God, if you are running around with an ego, then you are going to be tempted to have any and all ill experiences and ill feelings. Anywhere from, rape, murder, the worst of it. Anything that you can, deception, golly, like I just listed all. Did I just say golly?
Yes, you did, as a matter of fact. And I have to go look that up to see what that actually means anymore.
Can't believe that just came out of my mouth.
It'd be like if you said, "Hey, man, that's groovy." It's like that was that when it was the 60s.
Word.
Gee willikers.
Anyway, if every single one of us is capable. You see people on the news that wasn't like them at all. Well, you bet, because we are all capable of it. I mean, any of us can do anything negative. And if you don't believe that, then you're even more in danger of doing that than anyone else. Because as long as we have the ego, then we can believe those negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts lead us to negative actions. If you can learn to free yourself from those negative feelings or those stressful thoughts, then you can think clearly. You're not going to cheat if you're in the moment, and if you're dropping the stories that are hurting you, because cheating comes from hurting, pretty much. It's like you need validation, or maybe you're self-sabotaging because you don't feel good enough for this person, so let me just throw it in the gutter and throw this thing overboard. Or, there's so many different reasons for cheating. Or you get so consumed in the relationship, you don't feel like you have any freedom, so you break out by cheating and being like, I am my own person. So there are so many different things that we do that cause cheating, but guaranteed in every single one of those situations, it was ego that caused it. It was fear. It was some kind of negative feeling that they bought into, a negative thought that they bought into, that then caused them eventually to do this action, which they know plays with their conscience. And that they then have to decide, do I tell the person that I did this to, or do I just kind of keep it a secret? If they keep it a secret, it's like it becomes an uglier and uglier monster. And it just grows. And it puts this huge divide between you and the other person. So it can cause a lot of harm, but I've also seen people that are able to come together and admit what happened and that they cheated, and they might be devastated for a while because people do put a lot of weight on fidelity, especially if that's your agreement. Then I've seen them actually be able to be honest with each other, and they go through a little period of devastation and beating themselves up, the one who did it. And then there's a coming together, and it can become even more solid and more, you guys can become even better communicators. It doesn't have to destroy your relationship. It does not have to be something it doesn't have to be negative, just like anything else like we were talking about. Cheating can be a neutral thing that happens as a symptom. It doesn't have to be the ultimate in betrayal like we make it out to be. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a learning tool that got you going on the right track or got you going in the right direction, got you communicating like never before, got you real like never before. So as much as we judge something, we become more of it, expand it out. So the more we can be from that neutral place, the more we will be kept from doing that or any other ugly thing to anybody.
So a question I have for you then is cheating with emotion, is that different than cheating as a physical release? As an example, if you take a trip to the local Happy Endings massage parlor and you receive a happy ending, is that the same as if you are cheating with your best friend's wife?
Well, okay. So I think the largest.
I suck Travis.
You woke me up.
Yeah, a voice from heaven appears on the show. What?
The biggest problem that I've seen isn't with the act itself as much as it is with the lie. If you enter in a monogamous relationship and it's agreed upon, well, that's the only place cheating can take place, really, anyway, then you have the expectation that you are only going to have sex with this person until decisions are made otherwise in whatever form. Now, it's not like if somebody sleeps with somebody else, it's I didn't do the dishes and told them I did lie. It took time, and it took effort, and it took man hours to make that happen.
Not always.
It's a I mean, it takes longer than, say, an hour.
It can take 5 minutes.
How?
It can take a second. I mean, it can be like, it doesn't have to be this big, long, thought-out thing where you plot that you're going to have this affair, if that's what you mean. I mean, you can pop around a corner and kiss somebody, and betray that confidence. But I think the point is that and here's what I was going to say too, is whatever you guys agree on as a couple is what is the most important thing. So if you guys have agreed on being monogamous, then ideally, yeah, you would come to each other and talk it out and even say, hey, I'm kind of feeling tempted. I got this other thing that's coming at me. I actually had that happen one time. I was in a relationship. I was in actually a marriage where we had sex probably every 3 months. It was awful. And I would beg and plead and just be like, please. And then I was finally like, okay, if you won't have sex with me, then can I have sex with this other guy who's coming on to me because I really want to do this? And he was like, no. And, I respected that. I said, all right. And I ended up divorcing him because then I had to say yes to me and my needs. So, and it wasn't just for that, but you can't, yes, it's so nice to be able to just make everything all black and white like that and just be like, judge those who didn't do it, not adhere to the rules. And those that adhere to the rules, those are the good guys. And it's easy to make things black and white like that. But in a real life situation, when you're in a marriage or in a relationship, and you've agreed on monogamy, all kinds of insecurities surface and self-sabotage comes up, and all of this stuff happens, and you may even be the most well-intentioned person in the world, but you still might cheat. And I have seen like the most beautiful souls, some really incredible people that I was shocked cheated. And they did it, and they fell apart, and they were ruined from it. And then they came back to their partner, they got honest with each other, and it made them way closer and incredible. So I don't think anything is to be judged. I don't think we stand as the ultimate judge over anyone and say this should or shouldn't be, because you could be the cheater sometime, and then all of a sudden you would understand why somebody would cheat. So I think that ideally, when a couple comes together, they decide on whatever those terms are that are most comfortable for them, and then it's up to them to keep the communication open, and it's also up to them to be able to monitor their own thoughts, of not being worthy enough to be in this relationship, or being tempted, or not having their needs met, or asking for more sex if they want it, or whatever. So, did I answer your question?
No.
Tell me your question.
Well, it was okay. So it's not bearing what other people do. I'm kind of coming at it from my own standpoint. As far as the agreement breaking, that's just kind of what I thought the main problem was with the cheating thing.
I don't understand what you're saying. What's your question?
Well, I didn't really have a question, actually. I was just making a statement, and then it went somewhere
And I
else.
didn't address it? So you're saying that they should have an agreement and stick to it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you make the agreement, then stick to it, unless you have a conscious decision as a couple to make a new agreement.
That's unrealistic. Life doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. Not to burst your bubble.
Everything in life works that way.
No, that's just being the ultimate judger, and that's what I'm talking about. Ideally, that would just be wonderful if we all operated that way. But there are going to be circumstances outside of black and white that happen, and it's not. And ideally, that would be awesome if you could just say, "Hey, if you plan to cheat on me, please give me a heads up so I can bail." That'd be great. But really, the other person might be like, "Well, I want to protect my money, so I'm not going to tell her that I cheated. She's just going to take off with all my money." Or, there's so many different situations that we're talking about here. That, yes, that would just be lovely if it worked that way, if we could just agree. I mean, that's what people do when they get married. They're up at the altar and they have their vows and they commit to all these different things. But then why do so many people cheat?
Well, that's the
question. Are we just going to go? Are we going to go wag our fingers at them all? Are we going to go say, "Well, you shouldn't have done that"? Well, you agreed not to do that, so so you're a bad guy. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying, is that people do it for a reason. We're not here to be the judges. We're here to bring everybody together and to find solutions. And I have known people to cheat, and they can make it. They can come out of it, despite the fact that they went against the agreement. And the agreement could be like, "Hey, you change your oil when it's needed." I mean, it could be a big agreement or a little agreement. It doesn't even matter. Yes, ultimately, gosh, wouldn't it just be wonderful if this world was just full of everybody having integrity and doing what they should, in quotes. But ultimately, we're all human beings and we all have egos. We're not going to be these perfect people. So cheating happens, lying happens, and it's not, it makes everybody distrust and have all kinds of issues. But it ultimately stems from, and this is going back to the beginning of our talk today, is that it ultimately stems from a negative thought, all of this. And this is just more validation and proof that believing those negative thoughts leads you down the wrong road. It leads you to pain. It leads you to suffering. No matter what the subject, it doesn't even matter what we're even talking about. But whoever cheated had a negative thought they were believing that caused that to happen. And that causes people to murder and causes people to rape and causes people to deceive their partner. Do I condone any of that? No. Not at all. But I do, if people can drop their ego and stay more in the moment and stay more surrendered, not from that guarded black and white place, but just surrendered in a non-judgmental place, you're far more likely not to cheat than you would be to cheat. People who commit suicide, people who do terrible, terrible acts, are very judgmental of those things. So the more you can let loose on judgments, the less likely you are to get caught up in whatever those things are that you're judging. You become more of what you judge. So you could even find yourself, if you're judging cheating so harshly, if you're being so black and white about it, this shouldn't happen, that shouldn't happen, if you're treating life that way, you'll become a cheater. And even if you say, no, I would never, you talk to some of the people who've cheated. They never either. Not before that. So try to stay out of judgment and try to, it's like Jesus says, like, don't look at, what's in someone else's eye. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at your own thoughts that you're believing.
Take the log out of your own eye before you take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of somebody else's. I think that's paraphrased, but that's kind of close to what he was getting at. And the issue really is, for at least to my way of thinking, is that it's the emotional part. The emotional part of the act itself. If there's emotion to it with that other partner, then it's really hard for the person that was cheated on to feel comfortable with their partner unless there's a rebonding that takes place. And there's openness and forgiveness and all of that. And then they look at the underlying reasons why this happened.
Well, honestly, though, well, depending on the situation, because it's nothing's ever that black and white like that. Because you may find somebody, your wife. If you're the husband, the wife may be absolutely devastated that you went to some massage parlor and got off. I mean, that may be the worst possible scenario for them. Like, how could you have done that? Why couldn't you just have slept with your best friend's girl? And then the next one would say the opposite. How could you go after your best friend's girl when we're so close? Well, why don't you just go to a massage parlor, for crying out loud? So everybody's different. You can't just make it black and white, as much as sometimes we feel like black and white kind of gives us that security and safety. It's just not like that.
Well, that's actually is a very good point, because if it just depends upon your particular mindset of what is okay and what is not okay for you, and what is less okay than the other thing is. But it's a complicated subject, which is why I brought it up. Is that it's complicated, and I wanted to present it so that we could make people think a little bit about it and the ramifications of it and how it changes people.
And I think that within each unit, whichever couple you're dealing with, I think the ultimate is to come into an agreement between you that's mutually agreeable, and you just work to build the type of intimacy and trust and integrity between the two of you, that you have that open communication. to where you're building a solid foundation of trust there, and you've got a really good open communication going to where if somebody starts feeling insecure or something starts going wonky, they can actually feel vulnerable enough and safe enough to share what they're feeling, so the other can kind of either help or listen or validate where they're coming from, and kind of help everybody stay feeling okay. But it's up to that couple to work that out. But again, I would just I would do my best to keep judgment out of it as best you can. And the more, it's all about acceptance. People think that, just like you had said, that everything is opposite or upside down. It's the same with this. If it's like if you beat yourself up, if you're like masturbating to somebody else that isn't your partner, for example, if you're beating yourself up over that, and you're like, you think that it's the worst thing in the world, and you think, how could I be doing this to my partner? You're going to cause all kinds of chaos and trauma, and your partner is going to feel it. They're going to feel betrayed. They, energetically, people feel things like that, and they'll be even suspicious of you. Stuff like that will be going on, and you're not communicating that with them. But really, it's you judging yourself and feeling like it was really wrong to do that caused all the wonkiness. If you just masturbated to this other person and you didn't think anything of it, except that this is a normal human behavior that people do to relieve stress or to go to sleep or whatever it is, then you're not going to be walking around with this weird cloud over you, and you're not going to be acting weird around your spouse, and you're just going to be self-loving, self-accepting. And then you're bringing love, you're keeping that vibration of love alive between you guys. So when we're talking about like what's the wrong thing to do and what versus the right thing to do, is don't do the things that are going to make you feel like you can't be open about it. Don't do anything that you feel like you can't deal with the consequence of it. That's how I would look at it more. Like, it's like, whatever this is, can I tell my partner about it? And if I were to tell my partner, like, could I deal with the consequences? Just take yourself through more of that type of a process rather than I shouldn't, because the shouldn't becomes what causes you to do it more. It sucks you in like quicksand. Don't shit on yourself.
Exactly.
Keep yourself in a vibration of love, and keep your communication open with your partner. Make sure you guys are on the same page. Some couples are okay with having sex with multiple partners or having multiple, marriages. So be it. If they're happy that way, then be happy that way. But, for each couple, it's going to be different.
Yeah, that's very true. And be true to yourself, and be true to the person that you've decided to spend your life with, if you're married to them, or made a commitment to, because that's actually the healthier way to be. Because the other side is the dark side, and that causes troubles, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do cheat, because and you guys, I hate this subject. I really hate this subject.
That's why I brought it up.
I know. Kevin had to beg me to do a show on this, and I was like, I hate cheating. I have never cheated on anybody in my life. I was a mistress once for 3 years to a married man, and that was awful, and it eroded away at me, and it was so hard. I would never, ever recommend ever being a mistress, you guys. It is hell. It is torturous. You will never escape that prison. Get the hell away from that person. Move to another state if you have to, like I did. And, but get out of that situation. It is so self-defeating. It is so terrible.
I can attest to that.
So, okay, but I'm a very faithful and loyal person. And yes, I have been in the position where Travis is in. I have been in that state of mind where just feeling like everybody should just obey the rules, period. It just doesn't happen that way, though. And when you really look at psychology and the way that it happens and the way that our brains work and what causes all of these things, you have to learn to see what's really, really at the root of everything that's going on. And at the root of it all, when you accept, things let go. Things stay in a state of love and they work out. When you fight, when you resist, when you should, when you wag your finger, when you judge, when you don't forgive, it keeps you really stuck and it keeps you in prison and it keeps you repeating those patterns and it keeps you cheating and it keeps you lying and it does all that. So I'm not talking about, I'm not condoning not having a conscience and just going out and doing whatever the heck you want. In most cases, people who are doing whatever the heck they want, they actually do feel really bad about it on some level. So still there's that element of them in those situations could be, self-sabotage. But they're shooting on themselves, which is keeping them stuck in it.
And by the way, I do believe, young lady, that tomorrow's show is going to be about that topic of forgiveness, is it not?
It is. Yeah, we have, I think his last name is Jameson, Ben Jameson, coming on. He's going to be talking about a book that he's written. And he's, what is it called? I don't remember the title of it, but it's basically about spirituality without church. So That should be really interesting hearing about that. He's going to address the current twin flame issues right now, being that the feminine has to work on forgiveness, the masculine has to work on being worthy of this kind of a beautiful love. And so he's going to address those issues, and he's also going to talk about, his own take on cheating as well. And so that should be really interesting to see what he has to say.
It should be a really good show for tomorrow, and that will be posted tomorrow night, which is Monday night. So if you're listening to this on Sunday night, which I'm going to be posting this shortly, then you can tune to the satorishow.podbean.com and download that show tomorrow night. So we're looking forward to that. So, Amy, any last things that you would like to say before we wrap up this podcast? I think it's been a stimulating discussion, and there's so much more to say.
Yeah, just, it's, don't do anything you're going to feel guilty about, or don't feel guilty. And I know that sounds terrible. Oh, I know that sounds really terrible, but it's true. It's just the way that we work, and it's just the way that we are. Try to keep your state always in a loving, accepting place toward yourself and toward everyone else. And honestly, my policy is that I won't do anything that I cannot accept the consequences about or involving. It's like I ask myself, if I do this action, can I take the consequences, yes or no? If I say no, that would just really bother me, or that would really kill me, or I would really blah, blah, blah. I just don't do it. But I have self-discipline, and I also have self-love and self-acceptance. So I don't have all this negative stuff that's controlling me and making me so compelled to go do this action, because I address every negative thought that I have immediately and take care of it or openly communicate about it when I find the appropriate opportunity to do that. So I would suggest the same for you. And if you've done the cheating, here's what I was going to say. If you've done the cheating and you're now faced with telling your partner about it, because I'm kind of hearing about that right now, but don't beat yourself up. Like I said, don't stay in any kind of lower vibrational state. If you did it, you did it. Now, take the consequences with it and do what you can to repair it. Tell your partner, I will do anything. I don't care what it is. You tell me what to do, and I will fix it. And commit to that. And bust your butt to make that happen. And you earn back their trust. You earn back that. But also, don't let them hold it over you forever. Also, you have to say, I am going to do one big grand gesture, and it's going to be over. Like if it's been talked about for months or years even, say, this is it. I want you to come up with the one thing that I can do that will repair this for us, and it will never be mentioned again, or at least not in a beating up sort of way, in a bullying sort of way. Because just like we were talking about victims, people get stuck also. Some of these people who've been cheated on will get stuck in this vicious cycle of, well, you did this to me, and they stay in that victim state, and it just will completely destroy the relationship and erode it completely. So you can get past cheating. Get over the fact that you did it. Get over the fact that it was done to you. Move on. Raise your vibration. Get closer. Communicate better. Get more authentic. Whatever it is that you guys need to do, but get over it. Don't stay stuck in it, because it will destroy you when it has the ability to make you much stronger and cause a more healthy relationship as a result.
That's really sound advice. And what is it, by the way, that Amy always says?
Fear isn't real.
Unless, of course, you're about to tell your partner that you just cheated on her and she's got a pan in her hand. Then that might feel.
It might feel a little real for a minute.
Especially with that look on her face that suddenly, like, I'm going to kill you. That would be bad. But remember, that is so true. Fear isn't real. And remember, we've got an important announcement and interview coming up in the next couple of weeks. So keep tuning back to the satorishow.podbean.com for that when it happens, and it's going to be awesome. And in the meantime, just remember, forever trust in who you really are, and nothing else matters. We'll see you next time on The Satori Show. You've been listening to The Satori Show. Please visit Amy's website, www.amysatori.com, to find out more about this incredible talent. The views expressed during this podcast are those of the host, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of management or the owners of this podcast. What you need to know is that Amy is a wonderful teacher, guide, and communicator for the unseen world. What she does not pretend to be is a doctor, fortune teller, seer of world events, or predictor of what is to come. What Amy presents is real, based on her understanding of the world and communication with that unseen world. As always, you're free to decide for yourself as to what to believe. Regardless, we love and accept you completely just as you are. And thanks again for listening to The Satori Show.